I have freeze-dried some wacky things in my history as a freeze dryer. So I have put together my 5 most unique foods that I have freeze-dried that you probably didn't know you could freeze-dry. These aren't ranked in any particular order. However, I did save the best for last, so stick around for that one. My first video that I have to show you turned out top tier, and that vanilla honey butter I made was like the best thing on earth. So last year I discovered how good homemade vanilla extract is. This already smells so good. I don't know if there's a better smell than fresh vanilla beans. Okay, so what I have purchased are grade B Madagascar vanilla beans. I wanted to make vanilla powder. And so to do that, we're gonna freeze dry these babies. I've never done this before, but vanilla powder sounded so good. I've got lots of ideas on how we can use our vanilla powder. Here are my beans. You can tell they are very fresh. They are moist. And when I split them open, you're gonna be able to see all the vanilla beans in there. To prepare for the freeze dryer, I am already getting little seeds all over my fingers. I'm gonna split these open down the middle because I do want the centers exposed. I mean, I might be successful if I just chop them up into pieces, but I think I'm gonna slice them open, then chop them, and then put them on my freeze dryer trays. This is all I have. I wasn't gonna buy a ton of vanilla beans because that would be very expensive. So we're starting with this, and if I really like the vanilla powder and feel like I use it a lot, I will buy more. So this is gonna be a very small run today, and I think it will actually be done really fast also, because it's not like a high moisture food. So we'll see. I mean, this might be like a 15-hour freeze dryer run, which would be cool. I don't know if I've ever had one that short as like a standard freeze drying run. So let's start slicing these open. I want to show you the inside of the vanilla bean. If I can get a good, in there is all the delicious vanilla bean specks, the caviar as they call it, but so good. The little tiny seeds are everywhere. I just washed these trays, so I realize I haven't dried them yet. I am only gonna, I mean, I could do this all on one tray. I'm gonna split them between 2 trays and freeze dry them that way. I'm gonna use my Amazon tray liners today just because that's what I have that are clean. And then we will just spread these out on here. They're so pretty. All right, we can load up our trays. And we're off to the races. You guys, I just got back from the gym and I look dreadful right now, but I just heard stomping on my back patio. I was in the sauna, that's why I'm all red. And look who's here. Gus is here. Oh, I want to play with you. What you doing? Hi, baby. Hi. So my machine sensed that the vanilla beans were done at like 11 hours. I was at school when that happened, and so this has been running for like 18 hours or so. We're gonna pull the vanilla beans out. They're definitely dried. I've now got to run to kids' activities, so I'm gonna just stick them in a jar, throw in an oxygen absorber, and we will, I don't even know if I need an oxygen absorber. I think I'm just gonna vacuum seal it. I'm just gonna vacuum seal it. And then I'm gonna ground them up into the powder tomorrow evening. And I've got a really cool new way to grind up these vanilla beans that I'm excited to try. I'm gonna get my vacuum sealer on here. Wait 60 seconds and this will be nice and fresh for me to use tomorrow. So here's my dried beans. I got this coffee grinder from Amazon that I am going to use to grind this down into a powder. So I'm going to place my vanilla beans in here think they'll all fit. And then I'm gonna stick the lid on and just hold this down for 30 seconds to get a fine powder. Oh my gosh, y'all. That totally worked. All right, we gotta give it a smell. That's good. I'm gonna try to just pour this back in here. I got more powder than I was expecting to. I'm like so impressed by this one. The way to use the vanilla bean powder that I can't get out of my head right now is to make some honey vanilla butter. And I think that's gonna be so good on my sourdough toast. I'm not normally a fan of freeze-dried desserts. Usually when they are mixed in with like fruit or something is when I actually do enjoy them. Like I don't love freeze-dried ice cream or freeze-dried cake, cookies, things like that. I just don't like. I prefer it in their original form. But this is one of my favorite sweet treats that I have ever made, and you're gonna wanna make it too. I have an idea for a freeze-dried dessert that is going to be decadent and delicious if it turns out. And it's gonna be so easy because I only need 3 ingredients, and it's gonna be the easiest thing ever to make. The first and main ingredient we need are frozen strawberries. The next item I need is coconut oil, but I already have this huge tub at home, so I'm not gonna buy it, but that's the second ingredient. And lastly, this is gonna give it away, I think, of what I'm making. We need chocolate chips, which I'm kind of having to dig out. You could use any chocolate that you want, but we're just gonna go for the chocolate chips they sell here. They're semi-sweet, $14.89 for the giant bag. Did you figure out what I'm making? Yes, we are gonna do some freeze-dried chocolate covered strawberries, which I'm hoping will be delicious. I waited until right before I'm gonna load these into the freeze dryer so that they don't start defrosting during that 15-minute cool down time. I've accidentally done that before, and like your stuff will start to get a little melty, and I just like to prevent that if I can. The total runtime on these strawberries was 25 hours. That did include the entire 7-hour extra dry time, so it probably could have done sooner than that. I didn't come down and do a weight test or anything. We're just going with it. They seem dry to me. These are looking so good. I think are gonna be the perfect size to dip in chocolate and have a yummy chocolate covered strawberry. That's gonna last, I feel like, much longer than a fresh strawberry would. I'm just gonna package these up in a jar and take them upstairs to my kitchen. I'm gonna melt my chocolate using the double boiler method. You can melt chocolate chips in the microwave. I just never have good success with that. I feel like I always end up burning my chocolate when I do that. So I'm gonna try this way and see if we have better results. You wanna fill up the pan, but not have the water touching the bowl. And I'm just gonna turn it on to simmer. Once it gets hot and simmering, I'm gonna add my chocolate chips. So my water seems hot. I'm gonna start with just doing about a cup. I might do a cup and a half of chocolate chips. And I'm gonna add a tablespoon of coconut oil. The coconut oil is there to help the chocolate just be more smooth and silky. It's not required, but I hear the people who dip chocolate like to add some oil to it. So I think our chocolate is nice and melted. I am so not a pro at this, so if you are and want to give me any chocolate dipping tips, I would greatly appreciate it, but this is looking great. Here's my game plan. I'm going to stick a skewer in the end of my strawberry, dip it, oh, it's falling off. Let's see if this is gonna work. Dip it in the chocolate. Okay. Make sure it's nice and coated all around. Gonna let the excess drip. I think it worked. Okay. And I'm gonna put it on my parchment. I need to just let these set up in a cool environment. I'm gonna put them on my back porch. It's like 30 degrees out there. It's looking to me like the chocolate has set up nicely on our strawberries. Let's go check them out. Here we have an up-close view of our strawberries. Are we ready for the most exciting taste test ever? Wow. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but this might be one of my favorite things I've ever made. You get the intense flavor of the freeze-dried strawberry, the crunch of the freeze-dried strawberry, with the delicious semi-sweet chocolate coating. My only tip about the freeze-dried strawberries is if I was gonna do this again, I would coat the entire strawberry in chocolate. I left some of the ends exposed, like the flat side of the strawberry is not covered in chocolate. And so once the chocolate covered freeze-dried strawberries sat out for like a day or two, the strawberry started to get soft. I got a fly bothering me. But if it was completely coated in chocolate, it would be preserved for a longer time. So tip, if you make those, cover the whole thing in chocolate. My next one is an ingredient that you are not supposed to be able to freeze dry due to the fat content of it. But of course, smart people on the internet figured out how to freeze dry this food, so I had to try it. We're gonna go crazy today and try freeze drying one of those impossible foods that they say shouldn't work, but apparently people have figured it out how to make it work. That food is peanut butter. I'm going with an all-natural organic peanut butter that has no additives to it. So the other item you need to freeze-dry peanut butter is distilled water, which water is slim pickings, but okay. They have some. Don't ask me why it needs to be distilled water. I don't know. I'm just following what the internet told me to do. Let's get going on our freeze-dried peanut butter. Really excited to see this is actually gonna work. I use powdered peanut butter like almost every single day because I always put it into my protein shakes. I just love the ease of putting powdered peanut butter into my shakes versus having to dirty up a spoon and all of that. So that's one way that I use powdered peanut butter. I also really like it when I am making overnight oats. So good in there, so good in like protein yogurt bowls. Delish. So this is gonna be so fun if it works out. So the recipe for freeze drying peanut butter is to dilute it with 4 parts distilled water, 1 part peanut butter. I am going to empty my jar into a just large saucepan. And then I'm gonna fill this up 3 times with my distilled water. Not 3 times, 4 times. And then I am just going to put it over the heat on my stove. I'm not gonna boil it or anything, but just get it nice and warm so that it will like all melt and dilute together. I'm now just gonna lightly stir this around until this is all diluted and mixed together. I'm not trying to cook anything, I'm just trying to mix it all together, so this shouldn't take too long. And then it's ready to go into the freeze dryer. What my mixture looks like, it just looks like liquid peanut butter, which is great. And I'm gonna transfer my mixture into my pitcher. It's just a pitcher from my blender, so that it's easy for me to pour onto my tray. I am going to, similarly to how I load liquids into my freezer when I am pre-freezing, I am just going to slide in a tray, pour in some of the liquid, push it back. I hope that works with 0 messes. I'm just making sure to get this nice and stirred up. I'm so nervous. I want to make sure this is as straight as possible. Sometimes it gets a little crooked in there. You know, we're just gonna go with it. One down, 3 to go. I think we did it without too many messes. All right, my friends, it's been 31 hours since I last saw you. My machine has been in extra dry time for like 7 or 8 hours. I kept increasing the dry time while I was at school today because the machine sensed it was done. So I'm gonna call it good. I'm gonna say we are dried. Here is how we are looking. I mean, it looks pretty great. Look at this, you guys. It is totally powdered. This is the coolest thing ever. Smells like peanut butter. It's nice and dry. I'm quite amazed. How does it taste? Like peanut butter. It tastes like peanut butter. A little more on the nutty side, but I think this was a success. I was able to fit a little bit more from my next tray. I just want to show you how I package these up. I like to use foods that I'm going to be like eating in the near future. I like to store them in mason jars. Foods for long-term storage, I put in Mylar bags. So I just use my little portable vacuum sealer. This thing's the best. Wait 60 seconds. It's gonna suction out the air to keep my peanut butter powder nice and fresh for me. I was shocked that actually worked. I love to use my freeze dryer to make healthier versions of traditional foods that I enjoy. And so this one was just a random idea that I had to make a dye-free sprinkle. Here's how that went. Totally in the mood to have some fun with my freeze dryer. And I've had this idea stirring in my head for quite some time. Today's the day. We're gonna make it happen. These are the random ingredients I am grabbing. I promise it'll all make sense when I get home. Did you have any guesses for what I am making with all of those random ingredients? I have been wanting to try making my own homemade sprinkles because it's really not that hard, but then take it a step further and try freeze drying them. I mean, the homemade ones are just pretty much made out of sugar and, you know, that meringue powder is what I'm gonna use. There's lots of different types of recipes you can do for making your own homemade sprinkles, but this one is gonna be sugary. So I am hoping they might puff up in the freeze dryer and just become darling little sprinkle puffy bites that are just so good. And we're gonna add a little twist because we're trying to make these a little bit better for you by doing our own natural food dyes. These from the grocery store have red 40, yellow 6, blue 1, yellow 5 lake, all kinds of artificial dyes. And I think we can do better. I'm trying for 3 different colors with my 3 different foods. I've got beets that I'm hoping will end up being like a pinkish red color. I'm gonna try to go for orange with the carrots, and then I still have a bunch of dried elderberries from when I made my elderberry syrup, but I think this could make a like dark purple color. I've just poured a little bit of water into my pan and I'm adding my sliced up peeled beets. And now I'm just gonna simmer this for a while until it starts to dye the water, I think. I've never done this before, so we're gonna see how this works. So I'm just doing the same process with the carrots and the elderberries, and we don't need that much water because you only need a few tablespoons for the actual icing recipe. So I'm just gonna let these simmer away for a while and see how we're looking. Okay, I've clearly never done this before because I had walked away from the stove and it all burned off the water. So I need to add more liquid and try this again. We're gonna see if I can salvage this. I am going to just pour it through a little strainer. This one is the beets. It is very dark, but once it mixes with the powdered sugar, it's not gonna be as, you know, dark. At least that's what I'm thinking. So here's our first vegetable dye. I'm a little worried about the carrots because there's a lot of like brown charred bits in there now. So it's kind of brown, and carrots aren't the most pigmented thing anyway. If I had turmeric, I think that would have been a much better yellowy orange color, but I didn't think about that until like just now. Or maybe sweet potatoes would have given me a better color, but this is not gonna be a pretty sprinkle. I might just have to toss this one. I think we're gonna use the red and the purple and just see how it goes. So the recipe for the icing is with using the meringue powder version, 1.5 tablespoons meringue powder, 2 cups powdered sugar, 3 tablespoons of fruit juice, and a pinch of salt. I'm going to half that because I'm not gonna try to do a ton at once because I don't know if it's gonna work. So we're gonna half it and do it twice, 1 for the red, 1 for the purple. I think I've gotten it to the consistency I want. I actually really like this color. It's very beautiful. The recipe says you want it to be a thick, like toothpaste thickness. So, I mean, I think we're there. The next step is gonna be transferring this into a piping bag. Then I'm gonna mix up my next batch. Then we'll have 2 piping bags to work with. I am going to cut the ever so slightest bit off the edge, like that. And then all I am going to do on my parchment paper is straight, bless you, straight lines back and forth, as straight as possible. Let's see. So this is gonna be a 2-step process. I have my lines here. What we need to do, if I was just making sprinkles, this needs to dry overnight. Then they will harden. And then I'm just gonna take a little knife or some kind of chopper and you chop them up into your little sprinkle pieces. These are homemade, so I think they look really cute when they're like rustic looking. I don't care about them all being the exact same size and shape. I think it'll look really cute being kind of different sizes of sprinkles. And then we're of course gonna put them in the freeze dryer. I debated on if I should just put them straight into the freeze dryer wet like this, but I didn't wanna mess with their shape because if it puffs up, it'll be hard to cut that then into a sprinkle shape, you know? I would rather it already be a small sprinkle and then try to freeze dry it. So we're gonna let this sit overnight. In the morning, I'm gonna come back at you and we're gonna put it in the freeze dryer. Well, good morning, friends. Let's check out our sprinkles because they look like they hardened very nicely. You can see from dyeing, the color like varies a little bit, but they're cute. They worked great. So this made a decent amount of sprinkles from just that little bit, which I am quite shocked and pleased with. I wanted to save some sprinkles in my jars in case these like end up terrible so that we could still decorate some cookies or something with the sprinkles the way they come, but here's how they're looking before they head into the freeze dryer. My freeze dryer is ready to go. We need to make sure we press candy process to on. It'll turn green. You'll know you're in candy mode. I'm closing my drain valve and then we can get this loaded up. Hit continue. I am not doing a tray warm, so I'm gonna press skip. And we're good to go. Okay, I'm back. I am dying to see if anything happened to these. Well, no. You know what? Let's compare the non-freeze dried to the freeze dried. They look exactly the same. Tastes the same. Y'all know me and know I love experimenting with my freeze dryer. I sometimes have ideas in my head that don't always turn out. That's okay. However, what I did learn is that I could make the sprinkles, and I could do the drizzling directly onto a parchment sheet in my freeze dryer. I could freeze dry them for like an hour or 2 and have instant crunchy sprinkles. I won't have to wait for them overnight. I think the freeze dryer would just dry them. So, I mean, that's a benefit. Yeah. If you are in the market for a freeze dryer, August is going to be your time to purchase one because Harvest Right has given me a special discount code that gets you $100 extra off of a freeze dryer from the already marked down sale price. I mean, that $100 off could get you some nice accessories if you wanted to do some little add-ons with your purchase, or just save $100. Can't go wrong there. I will have that discount code on the screen right here, and in the video description below, I have the link to where you can go shop for freeze dryers from Harvest Dry. Mine is a size medium. Okay, so this last video is definitely my favorite of all of these unique foods that I have freeze dried. I am a lover of sourdough. I have been making sourdough bread for about 5 years, which I can't believe it's been that long. And I wanted a cleaner, tastier, shelf-stable breadcrumb. The stuff you get at the grocery store, first of all, just is not that good. And it's got preservatives in it. It's just not the best. And so I thought if I could use my freeze dryer to turn sourdough into shelf-stable breadcrumbs, that would be a game changer. Here's how that went. So I'm determined to make my own clean, beautifully dried, shelf-stable breadcrumbs with my own homemade bread. And I'm gonna use a freeze dryer to make them shelf-stable without any preservatives or added ingredients. I've had this idea in my wheelhouse for quite some time, but I just never had enough leftover bread to actually try making breadcrumbs. Well, I take that back. I've made breadcrumbs before, but I've used them right away or just thrown them into the freezer. My freezer right now is exploding. Yeah, don't judge me. So I am trying to keep as many things possible out of my freezer and onto my pantry shelves. I've got these 2 loaves of bread here that have gone pretty stale. They are not great to eat anymore. This loaf of bread just did not even turn out well for me. So this is a perfect contender for breadcrumbs. Do you see how flat it is? And then this one is just ready to go also. You could do this with any homemade bread you have. I mean, you could do it with any bread. But the perk of using homemade bread is that it has no additives, no preservatives, no seed oils, no junk in it. And so your breadcrumbs are gonna be the same. They're gonna be top quality. So first I am going to slice up my bread just into some larger sized chunks to get them ready to be processed in my blender to just grind them down into more bread flake consistency. I've got this lovely big bag of breadcrumbs. This probably is not going to be enough to fill up all 4 of my trays, but we're just going to deal with it. Typically, when I get to the end of a loaf of bread, it's dry and kind of hard, and so I don't prefer to eat it. A good way to save your bread is to just throw it in a freezer bag, keep it in the freezer, and then once you have a bag big enough, then turn it into breadcrumbs and freeze dry them. I just happen to have a few loaves ready for me that I could just use, so we're going to do that. And remember cleaning out the freezer. Okay, so this is probably gonna take a couple of batches. I'm gonna fill up my blender, pulse this up, and then we'll pour them on our trays. We actually ended up with way more breadcrumbs than I expected. That was so easy. It's like sand. I just kind of want to play in it. But no, let's get it onto our trays. I'm lining this with the parchment sheet. It's not gonna need it, but I just think for packaging, I might be able to just pick it up in the sheet and it'll be fine. But either way, it shouldn't stick to the tray. I'm just gonna divide this evenly between my 4 trays. And with something like this, you really could pack down these trays like super full. But, you know, like I said, this is how much I have. And that's okay. You know what? I'm kind of wishing I didn't use a tray. Or I'm kind of wishing I didn't use a liner. But, oh well. These look so good. Let's get these downstairs to vanilla ice. I'll show you the settings that I'm gonna use. And I honestly don't think these are gonna take very long. For my settings, I'm going into custom, but I'm just doing this on a standard freeze dryer run, which I'm gonna keep at -10 for my freeze. I don't need to do any extra freeze time. These breadcrumbs are gonna freeze like so fast, so I'm not worried about the freeze. My dry temp is at 120 degrees and my extra dry time is already set to like 8 hours, I think. And all I gotta do is hit start. And we'll wait our 15 minutes and get these loaded up. We are ready to load these up. It's gonna be so nice to be able to just store these in a jar on my shelf. When these come out, I will show you how I plan on storing them. Okay, I'm really anxious to see how long this takes because there is so little moisture in the bread already that I think it's gonna be a very fast freeze drying run. I'll be surprised if it's more than 24 hours. Knowing me, if it ends sometime tonight, I'm gonna just let it run all night because I ain't dealing with this in the middle of the night when it's bedtime. So we will see. Welcome back. It is the next day. My machine ran for 19 hours. That included that 8-hour extra dry time. So this really was a quick run. I can't wait to see the texture of these breadcrumbs and how they turned out. Here we go. You guys, they're perfect. They feel like panko breadcrumbs, and they even have that like thicker texture of panko. You know that normal just plain breadcrumbs that you get at Walmart? It's like a fine powder. And we saw the ingredients, they're full of junk. This is more textured like the panko, which are like a fried dried breadcrumb, right? I think so. Anyway, I like a chunkier breadcrumb when I do like meatloafs and stuff like that. So this is gonna be perfect. I'm so excited. To package these up, I want to store these in mason jars, and I'm just gonna vacuum seal the top. And then anytime I go to use it, I will just scoop out what I need and then re-vacuum seal the top every time. It's really like super easy. And just like that, we've got 2 huge jars of sourdough breadcrumbs. Now I can say I make sourdough meatloaf. Because I mean, I love turning everything into something sourdough, like sourdough baked goods like cookies, sourdough pancakes, sourdough waffles, obviously sourdough bread. I've not made sourdough cinnamon rolls yet. I've been wanting to try because that sounds delicious. But now we got sourdough meatloaf. So, I mean, that's kind of fun. Thank you all for reminiscing in the past with me. It was actually really fun to see those old videos, and it made me miss Alaska. Give this video a thumbs up. If you have the hype option, hype this video. That really helps my video get sent out to more people, so I really appreciate it if you do that. Y'all really are the best. Remember, when you freeze dry today, you secure your tomorrow. Bye, friends.